Are we live? Of course we're live. People deluded, I'm back again. Thank you very much for tuning back in each and every time. One love to the Twitch gang who are watching this live and direct. Shout out to the YouTube rewatchers. Massive respect to those of you who are currently listening on Spotify/Apple. Now, welcome back to another edition of the Deluded Podcast, the really and truly podcast. The Deluded Podcast. You lot always give it another name to the point where I forgot it itself. As long as you lot keep coming back and keep providing talking points and whatnot, I'm all ears, people, and it doesn't really matter. So yeah, appreciate everybody who's currently listening. Obviously, I hope everyone's doing well and safe. While we might be happy, frustrated, sad, or anxious or angry over any footballing result, as much as I love football, there's very few things more importantly than football. Health is one of them. So I hope everyone's in good spirits. Hope everyone's got their health. Obviously, I extend that to your loved ones. Now, throughout the course of this, you know what it is when it comes to this sort of piece of my content. We'll review the Premier League recent round of fixtures. We'll preview the Champions League, and we'll talk about any quote unquote talking points that have popped up. So like I said, big appreciation to everybody who's locked in, everybody who's listening and whatnot. And yeah, let's crack on, people. Now, where do I start? If I start with Arsenal, I might not finish. So I don't know where to start in relation to the Premier League because, again, Arsenal's result was frustrating. I mean, I know I'm going to speak about it. I'm not going to be able to help myself on that topic. After this, at 11:30, I'll be going live on YouTube. So please make sure you're there. I think I've dropped the link in. I've dropped the link in the chat, and there's a bag of content to come from me on Twitch. Like today, obviously we're speaking right now, we're going over to YouTube at 11:30. I'm going to be back again at Twitch at 3 p.m. That'll probably be about 45 minutes. I'm going to have Budge, and again for the Arsenal fans, we'll focus a bit more on Crystal Palace. After that, it's obviously Champions League. I'm going to be doing Club Brugge versus Manchester City. That's going to be on Twitch live from 5:20, 5:45 kickoff. Then we move over to 8 p.m. Where Liverpool versus Atletico Madrid versus Liverpool is concerned. So a jam-packed week of content, a jam-packed day of content. Content never sleeps. So how can I? Our midfield last night, bro, jarring. Bro, Arsenal's midfield was jarring, tiresome, gappy, second best, sluggish, didn't look like a functioning unit. And we're going to live or die, but Arsenal are going to live or die by their midfield. And I've said it, midfield is the nucleus of the game. I'd argue midfield's never been more important in today's day and age. Yeah, you do have individual brilliance and things, but games are won, lost, or whatever within that middle. And until Arsenal sort out that midfield, we're going to be in problems. Let's not lie. These last two games, we have missed Granit Xhaka. There's been results like that where we've played with Granit Xhaka and we've bottled it, but we have missed Granit Xhaka. But saying that, that's an evil in itself. If your midfield cannot function without Granit Xhaka, where he's not a quality player like that, you're in problems. Arteta was a midfielder, much less so was Edu. And it is concerning. I know there's many different variables. I know Vieira, the narrative might be different if he's in the job as long as Arteta's been at Arsenal so far. But it feels like Vieira's been there for 2 minutes and the system has been revamped at Crystal Palace. They're more aggressive. They play better football. They're more technical. We've been here for 22 months under Mikel Arteta and we've seen little dribs and drabs. And at the end of the day, we still are 5 games unbeaten, but it's not good enough. Odegaard and Partey played for 2 of the biggest clubs in the world and 2 of the biggest clubs in Spain. Partey looked lost. Odegaard never quite got going. It's appalling. It's absolutely appalling what's going on. At the end of the day, we didn't lose. Whenever you stare down the barrel of defeat, it is better to win. I mean, to get a point than to lose. It does feel like a win, but for both teams, the Premier League, the Premier League, you've got to finish your dinner. We had 2 hands on 3 points, whether we deserved it or not, and then we capitulated. So something's gone on there, as has Patrick Vieira. And you could see, obviously, I think if you swap the roles, Vieira probably be relieved. But I mean, Vieira, based on the way he's speaking, he's not happy with a point. Arteta, I won't say he's happy, but he seems over the moon. And, again, to celebrate a point, being 12th and, really and truly throwing the game away is poor. And this luck is going to run out. We've not played the best against Palace. We've not been at it for the full 90 against Burnley, Norwich, Spurs, Brighton, etc. in these games. But at the end of the day, we've got results. But at some point, these are going to come back to bite you, really and truly. Lackluster was the best way. The only thing Arsenal actually did was score goals directly, or better yet, indirectly from set pieces. to say it wasn't good enough is an understatement. And it's games like that that frustrate me, because you've got to, we might as well start with Arsenal. You have to earn the right to play. You know, when you go against a team like Crystal Palace, you need to win the first. You need to win the first and second balls. You have no, there's no excuses. You know, against Crystal Palace, first and second balls, they're a physical side. They snap at the heels, like, they're a reflection of Patrick Vieira. Patrick Vieira as a player, in my opinion, people that understand ball get it, and people that have seen things understand it, but Vieira doesn't get his flowers for how good he was technically. People just focus on his grit, his, the dark arts, the nasty nature. And I feel all of what Vieira is as a player is reflected against Crystal Palace. You need to earn the right to play. You need to win your first and second balls. Arsenal failed to do either. Zaha wasn't playing. You knew Palace were going to have an extra spring in their step. And I don't know if Eduard was going to start, but assuming Zaha was going to be on the left and Eduard started on the left, you've given Vieira a problem. We all knew a young French player was going to turn up against Arsenal. He's old enough to remember when Arsenal was actually a competent side. Great game from Eduard. Like I said, we didn't earn the right to play. Maybe if Tini doesn't hit the crossbar, if we finish a couple of chances, the game's different. But that's the name of the game. I did feel MacArthur, watching it again, should have been sent off. First things first, I thought it wasn't malice at the first time of seeing it, but he should have been sent off. If not for a straight red, that should have been his second yellow, if I'm completely honest with you, because again, that was poor. But I don't really want to focus on the ref, because again, the referee and all these things, they go against Arsenal. The minimum is turning up. The minimum is standing up to be counted. The minimum is controlling any variables that you are allowed to. And we didn't play well. We didn't start well. I know we scored, and apart from when they conceded, Palace grew into the game, but we didn't start well. We didn't play well. We didn't look like a functioning unit. Our midfield was too easy to be bypassed. On that topic, we looked extremely poor in the transition. Aubameyang is pressing by himself, and when other people are joining the press, is beaten too easily. The defense, I don't think they were bad, but on reflection, Ben White, Gabriel could have done a lot better for the goals. Ramsdale potentially. Tomiyasu had a mare. Tomiyasu, Odegaard, Partey in particular, extremely poor. I think Pepe was okay, but again, okay. Aubameyang probably the best player on the pitch who started. Lacazette probably the best player overall, and he made some positive actions. And I think for Arteta, he needs to know when things can and can't work. You need to know when to change the squad. And the last two games, there's been times, many a time, where Odegaard and Smith Rowe have played well. Smith Rowe weren't amazing, but it was better than Odegaard. And I think these last two games have shown maybe you can't always play both. Sometimes you have to switch up the system. We're lucky to get a point, man. What's ultimate gameplay saying? Hopefully we realize that since Arteta has joined, we ain't scored goals and been creative. Bro, that was our second goal we scored in the second half of football since Arteta has been here. Too many players having a meaty game. And again, it's that typical, if Arsenal is going to turn up, like where Arsenal's concerned, we knew it. We're playing another quote unquote informed side. Give all the credit to Crystal Palace. I do feel there's a lot of, I don't feel the sentiment matches up to what's actually happening, because that's no winning 8, 1 winning in 7 going into that game. I think there was a lot of plaudits where it doesn't necessarily match up with Crystal Palace, if I'm completely honest with you. But at the same time, it's an informed side, just like against Brighton. It's an evening fixture. It was technically raining at points yesterday. It's another wet, windy, cold evening fixture where, where we haven't actually stood up. We actually haven't stood up to be counted. So again, if you can't win, don't lose. And we've done that. But it's frustrating in our last 2 games to get 2 points from a potential 6 and dropping 4. On one hand, I can't not agree with that, because we didn't deserve to get anything from Crystal Palace nor Brighton. But at the same time, it's a thing where rather than talking about how great Crystal Palace was or wasn't, or Brighton was or wasn't, it's that typical thing with Arsenal where we've let ourselves down. There's been variables we've not been accountable for. And as you know, we can't turn it on every week. Don't know what's happened in the international break. Don't know if there's a bit of fatigue with players, but it looks uncoordinated. It looks too scripted in the final third. Players aren't doing the basics. For me, real game management issues. The manager is one thing, the players are another. Playing the same way, like we're 5 minutes before the end of the half, people are not slowing the game down. And I don't think you necessarily have to be an experienced player due to age because of age to realize that you shouldn't be doing certain things. But each to their own. It's as simple as that. So I don't feel we earned the right to play. I don't think we did enough where Arsenal are concerned, people. And if offer some of my notes. Of course, happy to get a point, key points, and make sure you're all here at 11:30, people. Well, I say here, go over to YouTube because we're gonna focus a bit more on Arsenal. Then, like Nightbot has said, for extra live streams and videos, subscribe to me on YouTube. But I feel the lack of key points again. I feel the lack of creativity is killing us, and it's all around the pitch. We don't know how we're trying to create goals. We don't know what we're doing. Lokonga and Partey has to work as a pivot. That has to be something that can work. There's going to be games we're going to need those 2 sixes, but there's been 2 opportunities now. It ain't worked. Both players shambolic for the mistakes they made, compounded where Lokonga never got going off the bench and he made them mistakes. Partey was terrible, really and truly. And individual mistakes on that is something that plagues this team. If it's not Partey and Lokonga this week, it's been Marie and someone else the week before, Chambers this. It doesn't matter if it's the good players or the mediocre players. There's mistakes ingrained within this team. And that's something for the players to address if you looked at the isolated 90. But I feel that game frustrated me because it's a damning verdict of the culture. Yeah, we've had a couple of results, but, if we keep making these mistakes and not looking after the ball, this tells me that we're not respecting it. We're not respecting the dark arts. That tells me that the mentality of this club for the less glamorous aspects of the game aren't quite there, really and truly. And obviously, when you don't kill off games like we probably had the opportunity to when we went a goal up, we was terrible, people. And we're a young squad. This is the naiveties, and it's about reading things. Like, you knew Palace were going to score. First half, they looked like they were going to knock a couple in, So it's down for the boys to read it. So I have to say what is said at halftime where Arsenal are concerned. To be fair, I did feel the first 5-10 minutes we came out a bit strong. Other than that, you saw what happened, people, really and truly. Tomiyasu struggled as well greatly yesterday. I can't lie. I think Tomiyasu's a good right back, extremely mediocre on the ball. Technically, he was involved in the goal, the first one, but extremely mediocre on the ball. And him and Partey, again, 2 of our more senior players. I know Tomiyasu's been here 2 minutes, but yeah, don't know what's going on with Tierney. Not that he was terrible. I don't think Gabriel and Ben White were terrible, but could have done better in the reactive phase to the goals, but it weren't their fault. Midfield, anonymous. Saka did win the corner in the build-up to the goal, but Saka and Smith Rowe didn't really do much. Aubameyang's pressing. It looked like Aubameyang of old. It looked like the Aubameyang against Spurs. But if you're pressing by yourself, it's rubbish. Like, yesterday was the first game of recent, where I've actually seen Aubameyang and Lacazette both score in the same game, but also get the best out of each other. Like, look how Aubameyang came to life a bit when Lacazette came off the bench, because Lacazette, he got the fans going. He had 1-2 little shots, a shot where it ballooned over. But this is the thing, and for me, Arteta don't really know his players. Sometimes you need to keep the squad. Like when we won our first couple games, you need to keep the squad together. We need to get points, but sometimes you need to chop and change. And I don't know what's going on, man. Again, I don't want to be too reactionary, but I think, Odegaard's had 2 games in a row. He's dropped clangers. I don't think he's dropped for Villa. And if you play well against Villa, you become a hero. But his position should be up for grabs, if I'm honest with you. I think Pepe did frustrate, but I think Pepe had a decent game, if I'm honest with you. Tomiyasu, if there was another right back, maybe that's an avenue to look at as well. I can't lie to you. I'm a big fan of Kieran Tierney, but maybe a Tavares needs to get an opportunity. I'm going to say it, people. I don't really have too much high expectations for Tavares. Without knowing too much, I think he's going to be fucking shit defensively and a bit of a madman going forward. Like, you come in as a left back, I'd probably rather you play right wing at this moment. But at this moment in time, I don't know how he's training, but surely he's got to be there, because I don't know what we're doing. We're not even trying the Tierney crossing thing. When we're crossing, no one's following in. We're not pressing. The midfield is like Odegaard is trying to play as a pivot, and then he's trying to be a 10. Smith Rowe is pressing. I'm not turning on Tomiyasu, on Partey, on Odegaard, or Lokonga. Still quality players, but we have to keep it trill. The main thing for me is the midfield. As long as this midfield stays the way it is with the error-prone players that we have, we're not going to advance. Granit Xhaka is missed, but let's not act like Granit Xhaka is a messiah. He's not. He is to us what Jorginho is to Chelsea, but you get it, people. We're going to be in problems if we're relying on these players. Again, the midfield needs to be addressed, and we're smoking the best of moon rocks if we try to go from August until May with these midfield options. Lokonga's still learning the tricks and trades of the game. Need a lot more from Partey. Both got mistakes in them. El Nene mistaking him. Partey, that's been coming, because Partey is known to lose the ball on occasion, and the footballing IQ yesterday needs to be better from Partey. Like, I'll be honest, that's probably his worst game in an Arsenal shirt. Odegaard was anonymous as well. Tomiyasu was terrible. If I'm completely honest, I did think Pepe was okay, and so an Arsenal fans, it is stinking of agendas, but Yeah, again, we can't rely on the same players all the time. There's still an imbalance in midfield, and we're way too open. Poor game management, silly mistakes, inability. It's concerning about our inability for me to play well for a proper 90 minutes. Like, we're either, there's a good positive 10 minutes where we're pressing for the equalizer. We either have a positive first 5 minutes or so where we score, sandwiched in between. It's a bit of a madness. We still don't understand needing to play well for 90. And I think our manager didn't always understand that. It doesn't matter if you played well for 10 minutes and then after that 10 minutes you go a goal down and lose. We're a sort of team will focus on 10 minutes and forget about the other 80. It doesn't work like that. Transition was poor, gaps in midfield, Aubameyang pressing alone, losing the ball too cheaply. Only thing we did well is score. We have no consistency in our performance individually and collectively. Too many gaps in the whole team. Once again, terrible in the final third. I did think Ben White, Gabriel did okay, but and they were set up to fail. But the whole reactionary phase to defending for those two goals was very poor from us. Off the ball, I don't really know what we was trying to do. It's like Pepe off the ball is playing as this, not quite a wing back, not quite as a right back. Tomiyasu's extremely narrow. Tierney is quite narrow. Smith Rowe's almost playing like a right winger. Odegaard is vacating his midfield position to kind of join the press with Aubameyang. It's very disjointed, really and truly. It's not really making sense. And to be here for 22 months under Arteta is a ridiculous one. But we did win. We haven't lost in 5 games, but it's concerning because this luck is going to run out, really and truly. It's absolutely, it's terrible, really. And for me, Villa drop points, we drop points again. And that's the thing with the players. As much as I get at Arteta, the individual mistakes are ingrained in our team. And if it's not Lokonga and Partey this week, it's a next narrative next week. But these players, I can't really, that is on Arteta because these mistakes keep happening. If you keep making mistakes all over a couple of seasons, that means there's something wrong with the culture or our mentality. That's down for the manager to arrest. But at the same time, I can't really sit there, as much as I question Mark Arteta, I can't really sit there and blame him for two players, a Norway captain, a Ghanaian international, a league winner at Atletico Madrid. Odegaard's been around for them being anonymous. Can't account for Tomiyasu playing at a high level with Bologna and Japan, not getting going. Lokonga, fair enough, he's young, but he's been captain of Anderlecht. He's on the cusp of the Belgium team. Can't make these mistakes. You can't afford to make these mistakes. We can't afford to be this open on the transition. Like when one mistake happens, why does it have to lead towards chances and chances and chances? Really and truly, you know. We need work. We need work as a whole team, and we're not all the way there yet. And this is what I mean. Arsenal fans need to understand it's not a winning thing every week. This team is not able to do it. They're very naive in everything they do, regardless of the age. We've got a naive manager. Like even in the game, you could see things needed to change. Like I was doing the live stream, it looked like a game. You bring on Lacazette. I'm not really a fan of Aubameyang on the left. I'm not really against it either, but you put him on the left. You needed two players pressing. I think there's no coincidence. We pressed a bit better. We kind of had Crystal Palace backwards. Credit to Crystal Palace. And again, we didn't learn our lessons against Crystal Palace because they press high, they snap at the heels and things like that. Like they did with Gallagher for one of the goals. We were absolutely sleeping, people. I'm gonna focus more in depth on Arsenal. In at 11:30, and again, I did feel Smith Rowe's decision making extremely greedy. There was a couple times could have slipped in Pepe. We might have been able to done off this game, really and truly. I did feel, we were having an extremely high line, even when we were on top of Crystal Palace at the start. We had an extremely high line, and you could see Crystal Palace could break with numbers. We didn't learn our lessons, and that came back to haunt us, really and truly. If I'm completely honest with you. And I did feel for Lokonga, you've made the mistake of losing the ball. Take the yellow card, pull the man down, kill the transition of that game. We didn't do it, and that chance there was coming, again. Unbeaten in 5, but just 2 points from a potential 6. And both games we've been on the back foot. Both games have been, teams that are in high spirit. Everything's going well and a bit cushy. We still need way too many variables before Arsenal seem to want to win and whatnot, people. So it's quite poor. Like I said, comfortably, Thomas Partey's a worst game in an Arsenal shirt. If I'm Pardon me, completely honest with you. If we're keeping it true, if we're keeping it real, man, like I said, I'm not turning on any of these players because I believe in Odegaard. Been poor the last 2 games, it happens. Partey been poor, it happens. Saka, Smith Rowe, it happens. Tomiyasu need to wake up a bit, Car. I'm still kind of on to you after the Spurs mistake. You needed your hand held against Brighton. You look like you wet your pants, really, and we were all running jokes and running banter about how Zaha's ducking the Tomiyasu test, but boy, God forbid if Zaha was there, what would have happened? Because a couple of times Palace should have bagged a couple more. Yeah, we could have might have snatched the game if Tierney scores his opportunity, if Lacazette with his other one does well, but coulda, woulda, shoulda, run up facts. End of the day, it was a mazza in it. We drop points. We have to deal with it. So yeah, it is. Sorry, I just had to make a specific timestamp of that. We'll carry on with reviewing the other Premier League games, but I just needed you lot to listen. That was the DG therapy and them things there, man. What are you lot saying in the comments? One love to everybody tuned in. Again, make sure you're following, you're subscribing, you're doing all of these things. Aye, shout burner from the phone, man. DG Nation and them things there. Aye, we might need you back on this show, but you know how your thing is set, man. You're gonna have to come here on. Remember, this is a political challenge. Last time you come on my show, guys, all got, let's call it a cigarette in the video. I'm all having to act like I don't know what the hell it is that you're doing. But yeah, to get all your DG merch, hit up the following store like the Nightbot has said. If you're listening or watching on Twitch for extra live streams and videos, subscribe to me on YouTube. I think Arsenal's best midfield would be Partey, Xhaka and Lokonga. Xhaka is a deep line playmaker. Lokonga and Partey is the legs in midfield. 2 8s like Juventus and Perlo, Marquinhos and Vidal. I hear you, but same way, it's going to be meaty, bro. Like, there's no creativity, and we don't, as you know, you need to be able to create all over. I think it probably is. I still believe in Lokonga and Partey as a pivot, but these last 2 games it's been rubby. Lokonga probably still needs to get up to the speed of the Premier League and really understand the emphasis of not losing the ball. For Thomas Partey, I don't know what it is. I do think Arsenal do this thing where, Partey's a good player, but he's not an amazing player. Obviously, if you drop off from Atletico Madrid and come to Arsenal, like Ozil coming to Arsenal from Real Madrid, you're going to stand out more. You're going to look like more of a baller. The expectations are different. There's more of a golfing class. But on that topic, it's like Partey is signed for this club and you've forgotten what he is. The man is a 6 ball-winning midfielder / box-to-box at best, The lines keep getting blurred. I'm seeing man shoot, create all these things. He looks like a square peg in a round hole. And again, we still have not got a partner for Partey. We still not have addressed our midfield. Our midfield still stands for nothing. It can't dominate the game in terms of holding on to the ball. It can't snap at the heels and scare away opponents. We can't hold on to the ball, which is a way of defending. So there's still an imbalance. Again, it doesn't matter who is there. On that topic, Partey needs to ask himself some questions, because what's going on? I can't believe it. What was going on yesterday from Thomas Partey? I don't care if people are carrying knocks and they've got fatigues. He looks like a square peg in a round hole. And Arsenal do this thing where players, they come to us and their potential or their ceiling might be vague, and we start blurring the lines. Man are talking about Partey as a complete midfielder. He can create. Lokonga this. No, if they can, let people be their jobs first. Let Partey do his job first. What his God-given talent to becoming a professional footballer, which is being a composed midfielder. Anything he does beyond that, look at him at Atletico. There's a specific duty. And that's not just Partey. It doesn't look like there's a use for anyone. I don't even know what the hell's going on with Tierney at left back again. Centre halves are centre halves, goalies, goalie. Don't really know what Tomiyasu was doing yesterday. Don't know what Smith Rowe and Odegaard were on. Saka seems in his own world. Pepe was all right, but he's in his own world. Aubameyang looked like a captain, but again, man are in their own world. People, it don't look like a functioning unit. It looks like a bunch of individuals, and we play the same way, game in, game out. And where Arsenal are concerned, people, this is why I keep saying in my live streams, we've learned nothing about Arsenal. This is the same things up until this point this season. This is the same things we saw last year and the year before and every other season that we've sat here and not had a season to remember or anything positive. The good, bad and the ugly. Yeah, we'll come May, we might get to waffle about beating Spurs and doing this and doing that, but we'll be in a terrible position. On occasion, there'll be times where we've stood up to be counted, we've played well, but the next week it's a completely different team. These players need to understand the hard graft, really. And I know they're a young squad and things, but they need to have a base level of consistency, or we're not going to get where we're going. And this is why I tell fans, when you get past the euphoria of Arsenal being a shambles at the start of the season, somewhat being okay now, don't let this have a false perception of where Arsenal are at this moment in time. We're extremely shit, extremely. And the wickedest thing about the Palace game, the last thing I'll say in this live stream in relation to Arsenal Palace is, take nothing away from Crystal Palace. Man to a man, they were spot on. Vieira, I see the DNA, I see the DNA. Man to a man, they did what they needed to do. Edouard, fantastic game. Benteke, no goals in 7. He likes playing us. You knew what it was. Elise off the bench did well. Conor Gallagher did well as well. MacArthur should have been sent off for the red, We can't account for what Crystal Palace do. We can't account for poor reffing. These are factors. But the problem is, way before I talk about these things, I look at Arsenal and again, the variables we can control. Looking like a functioning midfield, pressing together, switching on defensively, man management. These are all things we must have spoken about all week. So why didn't we do it? These are things we can control. And that's the thing. When Arsenal drop points, you really should be able to just credit the opposition, which you can, but you sit here and you look at the nonsense Arsenal have done. And for me, considering it was an international break, I know a few of you went off and played for countries at various levels. A lot of you had a lot of time to play under Mikel Arteta. You know, it's two big games this week, essentially two finals. Had you have got 3 points, you would have been a point behind United. Had you have got 6 points, that sets you up perfectly. But you choked, absolutely bottled. And it is what it is. Arsenal keep choking. And this is the thing, people talk about this team. Jamie Carroll got saying stuff like, we've gone from getting relegated to being the best of a chasing pack. We're not chasing no European place with this sort of stuff. It's terrible, and it's the narratives have to change. The good, bad, and the ugly. We've seen the bad, we've seen the ugly, we've seen the less pretty, and until things improve, until we get a base level of consistency, until there's accountability in these players, I don't know, because I saw extreme naivety, not to drop Benjamin White in it, but when he comes out and says he don't watch football, and I see people not winning, not attempting to challenge Benteke, not winning their ones and twos, when one person wins the flick on not following runners, do we watch football? Do we know what Crystal Palace were on? Do we know what Palace are about? You've got Danny Ings to come, Do you know about Danny Ings and how you need to be able to look over your shoulder and see him? Do you know about Scott McGinn? Boy, if we don't learn our lessons, this is why we can't do much. And again, no matter how poor other teams are playing, if you want to get Europe, you need to be able to take points. Last year, every team that didn't get Europe or a European place they wanted failed double as hard because you had to try really hard. Every team was not taking points. You need to be able to say, all right, cool, we can be a point behind United. They've got Liverpool. You need to take points. Or Spurs are doing this, Spurs are doing that. You need to finish your dinner. And I don't know what it is, but every time there's time to make some serious headwind, Arsenal choke, folks. So that's why we're in this position, people. It just feels like anytime we block a half decent team, a functioning unit, we're in problems. We can catch Spurs on an off day. We can deal with Norwich not offering anything really. We didn't deal with Brighton. Brighton need to ask themselves how they didn't put the ball in the back of our net, but we're reactive. We played the very same way. In fact, look, we had to go a goal down to think, okay, cool. Let's try and get something. We had to concede a goal before we thought, let's do something. Really, the goal was landed on a plate to us because really on watching the game again, the first 20 was probably our most positive, but it weren't amazing. It was a slugfest. So until we address these things, this is where Arsenal are going to be in the position they find themselves, folks. But it is what it is in that regards. Enough about Arsenal, at least until 11:30. Again, please make sure you're all there. Again, content galore, people. In terms of YouTube content, we're going to review Arsenal in depth and speak about Arsenal in depth at 11:30. We've got Atletico Madrid versus Liverpool on Twitch. You've got me and Budge at 3 p.m. 3 p.m. You've got me at 5:20, and you've obviously got me now. So yeah, keep making sure you're supporting across both platforms. Playing a number 10 very rarely works for us. Truly think 4-4-2 with Aubameyang, Laka, Pepe, and Martinelli as our attacking options. Martinelli looked good as well. Partey and Albert and Ainsley Maitland-Niles as our centre mids. To be fair with you, Mikey, I hear it, but again, you kind of said it there, and it's what we're kind of speaking about. For me, I've always said it, the 4-4-2, it could be something. It's looking like we might have to change to that or a 3. In fact, saying that though, we haven't lost in 5 games, so is the formation the issue? I think it is. I'm just simply playing devil's advocate. But you said it there, Mikey, and for me, one reason I'm not for it, it won't be any worse or any better than what we've seen, but the midfield, bro, as you know, 9 times out of 10, you're playing 3 men in midfield in any team you play in the league or domestically or whatever. You're playing a 3-man midfield. Certain people are going to be narrow, get people to tuck in. So our pivots have to work 10 times as much. When you look at our pivot and you consider how naive any pairing we put out there is, when you consider how naive we are as a team, when you consider the fact of we're not doubling down on the other things, it might work, especially when we're on top of teams. But again, it could put us in some very, very dangerous territory, if that makes sense, broski. So I hear you though, I really do. And it seems like Arteta chops and changes at the wrong times. He ain't chopped and changed this game, but yeah, man. Partey 27 should know better. Partey was disappointing. Odegaard was ghost. Crazy, man. Do you think Martinelli should have come on for Saka? At the time, I wasn't screaming Martinelli. I was screaming Lacazette. But yeah, man, it could have been something. Martinelli, I think one underrated thing Martinelli does is cross the fucking ball, bro. Like he wants to cross it, like just cross it from deep, make some chaos happen. Hope you're doing well, Frankie, man. Hope you're doing well and safe. So true. They need their roles jumped in. Exactly. You know, you need certain man need to be midfielders first. When you can prove you're a pivot man first, then we could start chopping and changing. The lines get blurred at Arsenal, you know. Again, we start overrating abilities. The lines start getting judged like part, but we don't. If I don't know what it is, because Partey is not as good as we think he is, and this isn't coming from his biggest fan. I love Partey. He's a good player. He's a quality player. He's one of the best in his position in the world in the league. But his footballing IQ is not as high as we might think it is. He's not at the level we might think he is. He's not going to be a messiah for this club, you know. It doesn't look like it's a multifunctional unit. One love to Andy for also not only subscribing but also gifting out a community sub. I appreciate that, my broski. And yeah, hopefully someone else is able to take advantage of that. It's frustrating, man. It's frustrating, but at the end of the day, you have to live with it, innit? It's just for games like that. It's just frustrating because you know you just don't look like a functioning unit or a football team. Good morning, sports fans. How bad can it get before the manager is under real pressure? He should be under pressure like he was at the start of the year, but a couple of good wins and people shut their mouths. And again, the problem with problem is Arsenal fans lack balance. You know, when we're losing, like we did at the start of the year, we're the worst team in the world. When we're winning, Arteta and the team, they've turned things around. Everybody's rushing to prove a narrative where the reality is not a damn thing has changed at Arsenal. It's the same team you're seeing from last year. It's the good, bad, and the ugly. Yeah, there might be a bit more stability. There might be less chopping and changing, but we've seen us beat Spurs in these games. We've seen us also play terrible. If you consider all the 7-8 games so far, it can only be described as the good, bad, and the ugly. You know, where the reality is the team has had some improvement. There is a bit of stability, but it's mediocre improvements. There really should be more of a DNA or the DNA we want to see. There should be more competencies. There should be better partnerships. How the back five, with exception to the back five because they're young, but how they tie into each other, how the midfield pivots work, how we press from the front, you know, and the mentality of the players. Because it looked like, you know, when it's games against Spurs, of course you can be up for a London derby. You know, when it's games where there's backs against the wall, of course. But this told me that we thought we could just turn up today and you know just somehow get something away from it. We're making the cheap. We're not, when we're doing cheap mistakes, we're not doing the hard graphs. You know, people are doing the bare minimum. I'm seeing Aubameyang. He's up front. He's chasing man down the right hand side. It's things like that. You know, Palace are a problem on the transition, so you should be doing everything you can to disturb it. You know, it's like the players don't know who they're playing. You know, they're going to go against Danny Ings and not a damn person is going to know what's going on. Same way I saw us play Brentford. Didn't know what to expect there. Didn't really know what to expect with Palace, but it's an issue, man. But it is what it is, man. Arsenal's players are too naive, man. But yeah, man, we've been very focused on Arsenal, very focused on Arsenal. Like I said, we'll refocus back on Arsenal at 11:30, folks, man. One love to everybody tuned in, man. Playing front two would have two pressing from the front, then two banks of four. Yeah, but once you beat that press, and like you see, if that midfield is at sixes and sevens, it's gonna be a myth. And you know, you've also got a little focus on the wingers. And you also need your midfielders to split and obviously help out the wingers slash fullbacks as well, especially as these attackers go forward. It can work, but I have no faith in anything that's centre mid reliant as long as the centre mid hasn't been there, man. Bro, no Zaha and thought it was easy, bro. Trust me, you know. Not even that. Yeah, bro. They just thought they could just turn up. Where longer and on one hand, I think the Premier League has never been more of an even contest than I've ever thought. We're gonna get to an NBA style where everyone that's been in the league can get relegated. It won't surprise me in a couple of years if a team that gets promoted from the championship, winning the championship, wins the league in their first year in the league. We're getting to NBA sort of stuff with football. But at the same, and why I'm saying that is because I think people need to understand. Make no excuses for Arsenal, but you know, we should have beat Palace. All the things I've just spoken about. But at the same time, you're gonna get teams where we walk away with Brighton, with a point happy. We're not able to match Brentford. We're not able to match other teams. And it's not just Arsenal. You're seeing a lot of teams have to fight. Look at Leeds when they first came up last year, how much the issues are. That's a byproduct of the Premier League now. But at the same time, it does sound like a cop-out. It is a cop-out, really and truly. And Arteta's, I don't know. To be fair, man, off the ball, sometimes it's looking like a four at the back, and then many different like partnerships of twos. It's looking like a 4-4-2. It's looking like a 4-5-1. It's looking like bare different things off the ball. And I do think if we can't see simply what a system is, then can the players? Is it too complicated? I don't know. So we'll have to see, man. We'll have to see. But less of the Arsenal stuff, and carrying on with the actual Premier League people. Um, Premier League review. Now, obviously, Arsenal drop points. We live to fight another day, people. If I read the results out to you lot, please make sure you're following and subscribing and the rest of all of that good stuff, people. If I read the following results out to you of this game week, people, as I said, Arsenal 2, Crystal Palace 2, Everton 0, West Ham 1, Newcastle 2, Spurs 3, Liverpool 5, Watford 0. In the Midlands derby, Wolves came from behind to win 3-2 against Aston Villa. Crazy game where Manchester United were concerned. Leicester 4, Manchester United 2. Manchester City won 2-0, courtesy of Bernardo Silva and Kevin De Bruyne, handling business. For what it's worth, it was a valiant effort from Burnley, I felt, and it was a committed one. Josh Sargent missing an open goal. Open goal's harsh, but, 0-0 between Norwich and Brighton. And I do think a number of them Brighton players showed their street smartness. Southampton, Borgia got his first goal, I believe, in the Prem, as they nicked all 3 points against Leeds. Quite concerning where Leeds are. Leeds are a team I think are a big club. I want them to stay in the league. I've got fans of Bielsa. I'm a big fan of Bielsa. But and I might be ignorant saying this, but it just feels like nothing's being said. It's like, what's going on there, Leeds? I know there's been injuries and things like that. Brentford lost a 0-0 against Chelsea. You've probably got more plaudits for Brentford than you do for Chelsea. Now, I feel to give Chelsea respect, you can't sit there and say Brentford's a tough game. You look at what they're doing and then not give Chelsea some credit for getting over the line in a game where probably they should have dropped some sort of points, whether it was losing or whatever. In the first half, I feel it was an even contest. Chelsea, the slightly stronger side. Brentford were right. In the second half, I feel Chelsea, uncharacteristically, didn't know how to manage the game. It looked a bit like Arsenal with we don't know whether to go for a second or sit. And I did feel it was really just Mendy versus Brighton. Like, Ivan Toney probably wondering how he didn't score. I'm seeing certain Brighton man do bicycle kicks. Mendy proved his worth, and it's an absolute disgrace why Mendy isn't nominated for the Ballon d'Or or them sort of things. I guess you've got to apply an African tax on him because, he's an absolute great player and he's shown what keepers can do for you. Strikers might win you games where Lukaku again failed to score, and we spoke about that yesterday, but your defense and your keepers can make a difference. Big performance I felt from Ruben Loftus-Cheek. Bit more quieter in the second half, but I think that withdrawn role is Loftus-Cheek, and I think everybody knows Loftus-Cheek's got quality. He just needs to stay fit. And I want to see him stay fit, cue the England shouts if he stays fit. So I think Loftus-Cheek had a good game. I think Mangala Sarr took his opportunity quite well to get a start at Chelsea as well. Lukaku was anonymous, was isolated. But yeah, and I feel Chelsea just don't look as good defensively as they did. Don't really create enough clear-cut chances as they have. Looks a bit like the system might need to be a bit revamped. It looks a bit predictable for oppositions, as much as you can say that about the Champions League winners. Shout out to Chilwell, because that was a fantastic finish, and I think he's their second top goal scorer after 2-2. Again, they did lack goals and they brought in Lukaku, which gives them that. But at the same time, you can't just expect Lukaku to do the business by himself. Fantastic performance where I feel Brentford are concerned. Fantastic. They didn't get anything. Raya in goal showed his ball playing ability. Pinnock, the best centre half in the league, the Jamaican international, without a doubt, people. Ivan Toney had a good game. If he could just show he can get double figures, he's going to be a madness, man. So yeah, man, it is where Brentford are concerned. And you look at the statistics, people, it was an even contest. Chelsea only had 1 shot on target and 5 shots, Brentford had 17 shots, 7 on target, 43% of possession. So again, you can't always be at it. Chelsea had injuries. They're not they didn't play the best. They walked away with 3 points. No Rudiger there. I do think Aspilicueta was killing on the right hand side. I think Kante's overcompensating. I like Aspilicueta. I don't think he's finished, but I think he needs to change things up. You know, I think, you know, he's not offering enough in that wing role. He ain't got the legs for it, and at times he's standing, you know, 3 meters away from Trevor Chalobah, and it's not helping him. Chalobah and Ivan Toney had a good battle. But yeah, like I said, Chelsea had injuries. They were second best, which happens in the Prem, and they walked away with a point. You know, when Brentford matched teams to this standard, Liverpool failed to walk away with 3 points. Arsenal got slaughtered. So you know, you definitely can't rate people for beating a team Arsenal's lost to. It's not a madness, but they did well, really and truly. They walked away. Bit concerning for Sal Niguez. Ain't really seen him, really. You know, ain't seen him at all. Mason Mount was a bit anonymous off the bench, and so was Kai Havertz, but they were on the field really where there was nothing they could do. The game was essentially already wrapped up and whatnot by then. Sarr and Chalobah only 21, and bro, you have to give them respect because they did it without Thiago, Rudiger, and Alonso. Them things there happen. Pardon me. You need to be able to get the result. I actually forgot some of the no, I didn't. Sorry, I'm actually getting confused there. But yeah, that's where Brentford and Chelsea were concerned. People, as I said, Southampton beat Leeds, and you know Leeds. I don't know I don't know what's going on with Leeds people. You know, Timo Livramento had a good game as well. It seems like the Chelsea players are doing well for them. Yeah, man. I think Nathan Redmond had a decent game as well, if I'm honest with you. And that obviously, with that win, the Saints climbed to 15th on 7 points, and they're 1 point clear of 17th place Leeds, and Leeds are in trouble where this is concerned, people. Where that's concerned. I mean, Aston Villa, we've got them on Friday, and they're gonna want to hit back after dropping points. You know, Roman Saiz, Connor Cody, Neves deflected free kick. I think Adama Traore ran the show. Actually saw a bit of end product from him despite no goals and assists. Fantastic comeback. Now, Aston Villa conceded some cheap goals, and you know, again, it was terrible. I know they had a bad game because nobody's gassing up Martinez. Martinez hasn't dropped an autobiography about Arsenal. You know, Arsenal was my first love. They left me, and now Aston Villa and all of these sort of things. That's how I know they didn't play well. They cocked it up in it to mess it up. You know, in the last 10 minutes of a game, that's not how you stay in the league. And it's absolutely terrible. They started well, you know, Ings and John McGinn, two players that we need to watch out for, you know. On Friday they did well, but I can't lie. Anytime you see Konza, Mings, Tanshabi in a defense together, just whether they're in a 3 or a 4, you're always gonna fancy yourself. I'll be honest with you, and I'm keen to see Arsenal versus Aston Villa. You've got two naive defenses or naive teams. Aston Villa concede some championship goals at times. If I'm completely honest with you, you know, Liverpool ran riot with against Watford. Watford were caught cold. You know, absolutely ran riot. You know, they ran riot. That's the only way to describe it. You know, Mo Salah did an absolute madness against them. You know, I'm trying to actually scroll up to my notes at the time. You know, I know Watford had injuries, but they were terrible. You know, they looked like League One footballers. You know, they offered no fight. You know, and they didn't even look to test Liverpool's second / potential third choice keeper. You know, Liverpool didn't even need to get out of second gear. You know, Firmino brace, Mane joins 100 club, Mo Salah keeps up the agenda for Ballon d'Or and shows he can't be stopped. Spare a thought for Danny Rose, absolutely, but he got boiled, roasted, jerked, pause. You know, every sort of way you can cook something, he got cooked. Danny Rose absolutely slaughtered, and he looks a bit overweight. You know, he's off the pace. First touch was terrible. He just couldn't get close to Salah. He just got absolutely savaged and turned over. And it's got to the point where to protect any sort of Premier League legacy, you've got Danny Rose. You need to go League One, MLS, start doing this coaching thing, do something, because you got absolutely sizzled. He weren't alone, but bloody hell, Salah just sizzled you, really and truly. For Liverpool, they just need to give that man Mohamed Salah any damn thing he wants, man. And like I said, it was a good game from Liverpool. You know, Watford had injuries, yes, and all these things, but there's a base level of performance which wasn't there. And I don't really feel you can pick a relegation contender, but it is what it is, really, really and truly. You know, Manchester United against Leicester. Boy. I know Maguire wasn't fit, but Maguire had a mare. You know, big up Mason Greenwood. Southgate, stop messing about. Call the man up. This man is the future of England. You know, get the man up to speed. We need Mason Greenwood, and it's scary what he can become. Absolute lovely goal from him. Mason Green was a quality player, and I know they've got Ronaldo, Cavani, all these guys. I personally think Green was the most important player they've got. He might not sell the most shirts and whatnot, but if I was a United fan, he'd be the most exciting player. And it's no secret, I'm a big fan of Mason Greenwood. He's one of them players that it don't really matter what team you support. If you understand football, you understand that guy's crazy. But apart from that, his goal means nothing, as you know, Leicester came from behind and won 4 goals to 2. It's the same old BS with Man United. They win, lose, and draw the same way, and it's a difficult week for Oli with at Atlanta and now with Liverpool at the weekend off the back of this. You know, whether they've won, lost, or drawn, they play the same way, concede cheap goals, susceptible to individual mistakes, you know, never quite look like they're in the driving seat. Like Wan-Bissaka for the last 2 goals in particular, sleeping, Harry Maguire having a mare in the game. You know, the midfield, everybody, Ronaldo, I don't know if you're playing. You know, Pogba didn't have the best of games, just looked terrible, really. You know, shout out to Rashford for scoring. You know, he's got 6 against Leicester. He seems to enjoy it, you know. But, you know, United just crumbled really and truly in all aspects of the word. Good goal it was from Vardy as well. And Vardy showed his quality, magic from Telemans. You know, it was a good game for the neutrals, but it puts a lot of pressure on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. You know, Man United look disjointed. And the minute they get a certified midfield, and the minute they look at a better manager, they're in good stead. Obviously, I don't want Oli to go though, really and truly. You know, fantastic ball from Lindelof for Rashford's goal. I felt as well. If I'm honest with you, I have to plug him on that one. But it was absolutely terrible. And when you look at some of the words that have or haven't been said, people, Paul Pogba has declared something needs to change at Manchester United following their draw. If I scroll all the way down, you know, to be honest with you, I know statistics are nothing without context, people, but if we give credit where due, you know, that was United's first defeat in 29 games away from home. Um, just to say that, Pogba said, to be honest, we have been having this kind of game for a long time and we haven't found the problem. Bruno's been saying this since last year. If the players are saying it externally to us, what they saying internally, what are they now saying as the manager? You know, it seems like Gary Neville and all these guys are finally starting to criticize their old colleagues. So he might be in trouble, really. Pogba went on to say, we need to find out what's the problem to stop conceding easy goals, stupid goals. When we know these games where we play on this pitch, the fans are going to put pressure on us and everything. We need to be more mature. I think we need to play with more experience, arrogance in a good way. We have to take the ball and play our game. But now we have to find out what's the key of these games that we lose, because I think we deserve to lose today. We need to find something. We need to change something. I don't know if it's the mindset of all of us, the players, when we start. We really don't know. It's frustrating because it's something we don't understand, and we have to find out that very quickly, because if you want to compete and you want to win the title, those games you have to win, even though they are very hard and we're playing away. You need to fight. You need to fight their game. You need to find the right mentality, the right tactic to win those games. That's my thought. We have time to think about it. Then all together, we have to stick together and find the problem. Now, for Leicester, there's been, you know, I won't say concerns, but they haven't been that good this season. Now, by their own standards, that can kickstart them. Ollie said, I made bad decisions. United fans would probably say, you reckon? He said, the 4 goals we conceded were really poor. When you concede goals like the way we don't deserve to continue that run. Definitely the performance was below par and not good enough. We got a very good goal with Mason and we were knocking on the door to get another one. Sloppy play and we conceded a goal. In the second half, it was end to end, but they created more chances and conceding at set pieces was disappointing. Conceded seconds after the equaliser shouldn't happen. I picked the team. Harry showed no reaction. I hold my hands up if it doesn't work out. Sometimes it doesn't. When you concede 4, I probably made a couple of bad mistakes. Man said probably, you know. He's moving mad. Ollie, your day's looking numbered, rude boy. I can't lie to you, really and truly. So yeah, it's all peak where that's concerned. Newcastle versus Spurs, people. That was a good game. Obviously, it's marred by what happened to the fan. We're happy that the fan's in good spirits, but you know, so certain man get a new owner bounce or a new managerial bounce. It didn't work for Steve Bruce, or at least it did for about a minute and a half. Wilson scored. It looked like it was going to be wavy. Then Spurs showed their quality. You know, Ndombele had a good game and a crap game at the same time, in my opinion. But all the goals Spurs scored were good. Mora can count himself unlucky not to get on the score sheet. You know, Eric Dyer capitulating at the end of the game. I don't know what that attempted header / whatever it was. It made it look closer than it was, really. In truth, apart from starting the first 5 minutes, second best, Spurs were quality, if I'm honest with you, and did all they could to win the game. I'm not necessarily a fan of Skip and Son together, Skip and Højbjerg together. I think they did well. I think the only Spurs player that looked shaky was Emerson Royal. He looked very shaky against Joe Linton, and he probably needs to improve. Obviously, Harry Kane's off the score on the score sheet now. People, he's got a goal and assist. You know, Son bagged the goal as well. It's easy things. And for Spurs, they're up to 5th. Everyone, 1 minute they won the league, then it's sacked Nuno. Now they won. Everton versus West Ham was a good game as well. West Ham deserved to win. Bonner scored. Now, we did a watch along for that. Everton, I don't know where they was in the first half, really, and West Ham should have killed the game. Everton did hit back at times, but, they didn't do enough, and it was a good game for the neutrals. I think Mikel Antonio had a good game, I actually feel Iwobi was terrible, should have scored. Damari Gray was okay. Rondon is limited. Allen doesn't really offer much beyond snapping at the heels. Pickford's a mare and had a mare. Again, this was a good game week in terms of fixtures. But when you look at, if I had to look at teams that started cold in this game, Arsenal didn't play well at all. Neither did United. But Watford started cold. Everton started cold. Spurs won but started cold. Why did a lot of these teams start second best? Wolves the same, and they smashed and grabbed it. Well, it is what it is, people. To go over the fixtures again. Crystal Palace and Arsenal 2-2, Everton 0, West Ham 1, Newcastle 2, Spurs 3, Watford 0, Liverpool 5, Aston Villa 2, Wolves 3, Leicester 4, Manchester United 2, Manchester City 2, Burnley 0, Norwich and Brighton was 0-0, Brentford 0, Chelsea 1, Southampton 1, Brentford 0. Southampton 1, Leeds 0. Apologies, people. So, yeah, if we move away from all of that and start looking at the Champions League, obviously something that Arsenal's not bothered in. Yeah. Get your jokes out, all you fans that don't support us and whatnot. I get it. But at the same time, there's a lot of interesting games to come. I hope you all joining me for the sorry, people. I hope you're all gonna join me for the watch alongs. Actually, trying to find my timestamps, folks. Sorry, so I can make sense of this. Here it is. Sorry, folks. Just making sure we've obviously reviewed the Premier League in the right format. So yeah, people, away from all of that, it's Champions League UCL time, people. So yeah, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, a win would help him against Atalanta, but he's playing a good Atalanta side. Now, I don't actually remember if it's at home or away, but I back United to win that at home. I think it's shaky away from home. In terms of the Champions League, you've got Besiktas Sporting, Club Brugge versus Manchester City, which is going to be live on Twitch for me from 5:20. Shakhtar Donetsk against Real Madrid, Club Brugge against City, as I said. Leipzig against PSG against Leipzig, no Neymar and no Icardi. On YouTube, I'll be doing a watch along for this, but you've got Atletico Madrid against Liverpool, you've got Inter Milan against Sheriff, you've got Ajax against Dortmund, and to close today, you've got Porto Milan. Tomorrow, you've got Salzburg Wolfsburg, Barcelona Dynamo Kiev, Lille Sevilla, Manchester United at home to Atalanta, Zenit St. Petersburg welcome Juventus, Benfica against Bayern Munich, Chelsea against Malmo, Young Boys against Villarreal, to close things up where that's concerned, people. So it's gonna be an interesting run of fixtures, and it's one that people are gonna need to win. I think Oli will take center stage. I'm sure you've all seen as well, off topic as well, folks. England have been ordered to play a game behind closed doors, obviously due to the nonsense in the final. I can actually read it out to you. England have been ordered to play their next match in UEFA competition behind closed doors following crowd disorder during Euro 2020 final. Also been handed a suspended ban for a second match, as well as fined €100,000. UEFA have punished the FA for the lack of order and discipline inside and around the stadium, for the invasion of the field of play, for throwing of objects, and for the disturbances during national anthems. And they've taken no further action against Hungary and Slavia Prague. Apparently, the ban will only apply to UEFA competition, and that obviously means when we play our first match of 2022-23 in the Nations match at Wembley, it will be without fans, rather than next month's FIFA World Cup qualifier against Albania, people. Apparently, the FA requested a personal hearing in the case, which took place on Monday. So it is what it is. Apparently, FA said, we condemn the terrible behavior of the individuals who caused the disgraceful scenes in and around Wembley Stadium at the Euro 2020 final. We deeply regret that some of them were able to enter the stadium. We are determined that this can never be repeated, so we have commissioned an independent review led by Baroness Cowsey to report on circumstances involved. It's gone on to say they continue to work with the authorities, etc., on that, people. But fair play. There was issues where that's concerned. And all of those sort of things. Apparently, people, again, I want to stop talking about Newcastle, but apparently, Premier League clubs have moved to block Newcastle United from making lucrative sponsorship deals in an emergency meeting on Monday, folks. Sorry, before I carry on, just so I don't forget, PL clubs Newcastle sponsors UEFA fine FA. Sorry, folks, but yeah, again, I've always said it for FIFA for the Newcastle to evolve, they have to explore better commercial revenue as angles, which sponsors could be, and obviously revamp off the field. But apparently, the clubs have passed a temporary amendment banning commercial opportunities involving pre-existing business relationships known as party transactions. These deals cannot be made for the next 3 weeks, with clubs intent on passing more lasting measures in the meantime through the creation of a working party. Newcastle believe that the rule is anti-competitive, backed by their own legal advice, and could be unlawful. This includes every club in the league except for Manchester City. Apparently, they are believed to have abstained based on strong legal advice that the vote was unlawful and would see the league acting as a cartel. The league is a cartel. Everyone's got problems with Newcastle because Newcastle is going to disrupt things. Nobody wants that. That's all it is. It is what it is, people. Apparently, several clubs were better yet, people. And apparently, the Abu Dhabi owned club have been accused of such in the past. So Man City weren't at it. But apparently, the Athletic understands that a leading director outside of the big six clubs gave an impassioned speech in which he outlined that these restrictions have been considered for years. And if clubs truly believed in regulation, they needed to push it through. Several clubs were also shocked to hear that managing director Lee Carnley represented Newcastle at a meeting rather than the new director and minority stakeholder Amanda Stively. He is not associated with the new Newcastle leadership, and so having him as the sole club representative while issuing legal advice probably is a conflict of interest, people. So it is what it is where that is concerned, people. So yeah. It is what it is where that's concerned, folks. Make sure you're following and subscribing, and you're obviously joining me over on YouTube after this, folks. One love to everybody that's been tuned in this. That's the last timestamp of that. What else are you guys saying? UCL business, bro. These clubs need to allow it. They all be doing the same thing if they could. Ronaldo won't bring enough goals in the Prem to justify the amount of goals they leak in the Prem. I think Ronaldo will do his job in the Premier League. The problem is United, it's a name brand thing. The midfield is imbalanced. Past that front three, if you escape that front three, it's imbalanced and it lacks mistakes. And the thing is, if you're going to have Ronaldo who isn't going to press and whatnot, they need to overcompensate by making sure every other aspect of that system is spot on, which is not. Suddenly when you don't press anymore, everybody needs to press 10 times more because Ronaldo ain't going to do that. I don't think Ronaldo's to blame for the issues, really, because Ronaldo's done his job since he signed for that club, really. I can't blame Ronaldo. I think it's a thing of stupid individual mistakes. Ronaldo can't account for Maguire. And I think Ronaldo, I don't know if he'll justify his actual price tag and these things as much you can say about Ronaldo. But you could say bringing him imbalances the team and all of these sort of things. There's legitimate arguments to that. But I think Ronaldo will do his job. It's just Ronaldo. I mean, United are top heavy like they've been. And it's just a name brand thing with their signings. And you can't do name brand in the Premier League. The names might gas people in the transfer window. But when you get to the thick of it, there's issues in that regards. New sponsorship from the Saudis would be from their national airline, I bet. So, but it should be anything really. Anyone goes to Saudi Arabia, they should be able to see a Newcastle. I'll be making sure if it was me, you'd see a Newcastle club badge. Really. Love that United fans love Oli, who has won nothing but hated Mourinho, who at least won the Europa League. Would have loved to see this United team under him. My dream team is getting destroyed with Luke Shaw in defense. Never seen Maguire hype personally. Salah FC. Interesting comments, people. Interesting comments. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. It is what it is where that's concerned. On that topic, though, people, I think with it being an hour, that brings an end to this episode of the DG podcast. So one love to the Twitch gang for tuning in. One love to everyone watching it on the replay or listening when it is uploaded for Apple Music and the Spotify lovers. Make sure you're following on Apple Music and Spotify. Make sure you're following me on all my socials, DeludedGooner04. Please join me for my video in half an hour, people, where we'll be over on YouTube and speaking more in depth about Arsenal and Arsenal's problems, people. So let me drop a link again for you guys to look at in there. There it is. You know, I appreciate that. See you at G. Great content. Appreciate that. So yeah, man. Without you lot, this would be pointless. So I appreciate everyone who's been helping the Twitch gang keep growing. One love, Andy, for subscribing. One love to everyone who's followed in the last hour or so, and everyone who's followed in the last couple recent periods, people. So yeah, without you, look, this would be quite pointless. So gonna love and leave you lot, man. A man said, damn, I just got on. Sorry. I watch the replay, Alex. If you follow and subscribe, you should see the replay on YouTube and on Twitch, and you'll see me on YouTube in a sec, people. But yeah, let me go get a little breakfast quickly before past. My belly is now dying. On that note, I'm out, people. Follow, subscribe, and do the rest of it. Peace out.
There's always just that active red flag, defending.
I think it's like